everybody. Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the Neow3j podcast. I am Dylan, the host of the Neow3j podcast. Today, we are speaking with Gil Machado, the founder of Neow3j. Neow3j is a Java library that aims to provide easy and reliable integration to Neo. In our conversation today, we discuss Gil's background and how he was introduced to the Neo blockchain, the features and use cases of Neow3j, working with Neo Global Development in Zurich, as well as alongside other blockchain projects in the Trust Square coworking space. Then we talked about Gil's perspective on the Neo Community Assembly that recently took place in Shanghai in September 2019, his outlook on Neo3, plus much, much more. So I hope you enjoy the conversation with Gil of Neow3j as much as I enjoyed having it. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Dylan with the Neow3j podcast, and today we're super lucky to have Gil Machado from Neow3j on with us. How's it going, Gil?
I'm doing fine, Dylan. How are you doing? That's good.
Yeah, I'm awesome. It's
you had your coffee already or not yet?
Yeah, we have a little bit of coffee. There's a bit of a time difference between where we're at right now. It's 7 in the morning here, and what time is it over there in Zurich?
It's like 3:40 now. So yeah, approaching the time to get a beer. So instead of the coffee, I have a beer here with me. So just to let our talk just flow a bit.
Sweet. Well, cheers. So I think this is going to be one of the first times that a lot of our listeners and readers have heard of you. So if you could just tell us a little bit about who you are and maybe what your academic and professional background is.
Sure. So actually, I'm based here in Zurich, Switzerland. But I'm not Swiss. I'm Brazilian originally. A long time here in Switzerland, but anyway. So I had a academic background before, so pretty strong. I worked in research many years. I did my PhD here, also in Zurich, at the University of Zurich. And after a while, just working with computer networks, etc., just decided to go to the industry. It's been a crazy journey since then, because I apply my academic background into industry and to open source projects, and this is pretty cool. The secret is that I have fun doing this, and I have the passion for it. So that's basically it. And I just jumped in the blockchain space on around 2013, pretty early actually, but not doing, how can I say, not changing the world, but just checking, studying, because I was in the academic setup. And my first project in the blockchain space was a system that people could pay in the university restaurant with a small wallet. And then people could experiment, have the first contact with Bitcoin, and that's opened my mind,
Very cool. So it sounds like you were kind of learning a little bit about the blockchain industry while you were finishing up your studies, and then you went into traditional industry afterwards, doing networks. So then, what was your transition into blockchain like, and was your first project with Neo?
So no, my first project was not with Neo, was with Ethereum and also Bitcoin. But while developing a system in one of these projects in the industry, I had to interact with Neo, and then I start, because the application at that time was in Java. And then I had to build SDKs, like tools in Java to interact with the new blockchain. And then I started building my own stuff. And then I open source it without any hope that people use it besides myself. And then suddenly people got interested on this Java SDK that I call the Neow3j. So that's how the project actually started. It started like in developing this in Saturday evenings, and then it became a good open source project inside the Neo ecosystem. So and then here I am developing more and more tools to Neo and especially in the Java space.
Cool. So you kind of briefly described a little bit about what Neow3j is and how you're focusing on Java tools and SDKs. But maybe for somebody who's never heard of Neow3j, what would be your elevator pitch, or how would you describe that to them?
Let me drink some more beer here, before. No. Just jokes aside. So Neow3j is a Java library. As a Java SDK, but it doesn't only focus on Java. It focuses also like in Kotlin or Scala. You can use Scala and still use have import Neow3j to interact with the Neo ecosystem. So Neow3j is a Java, Android compatible, Scala compatible, Kotlin compatible library. And you can use it to build your applications on that. So one of the key aspects why I was developing all of this is because of developing experience. So when I started writing my Java app, I was not feeling a good development experience in this Java community, and that's why I decided to create Neow3j and move forward with that. So and then you might ask yourself, like, who the hell uses Java nowadays, especially in the blockchain space? And there's a lot of existing applications, and exchanges, or for example, if you want to detect payments or detect transactions in a blockchain, and then you need to cope. Blockchains, especially Neo, has to cope with existing applications, existing technologies that are not so sexy anymore, but plays a role, in the ecosystem. So this is one of the focus as well.
Very cool. So the developer is going to be given access to a lot of tools that weren't previously available to the Neo ecosystem. But I'm wondering, and you kind of touched on this when you were talking about like point of sale systems, but what are some use cases for Neow3j for somebody who's maybe not so technical or is a developer? How can they learn a little bit more about what the sort of tools you're building are, and like how they can be useful in the Neo ecosystem for particular use cases?
I see. So if you want to build, imagine that you have an Android application, and and I don't know, let's suppose a game or a scheduling system is a mobile that you schedule your stuff, you share your schedule with others, and you can build this application. And depending on your use case, it makes sense or not to use blockchain. For example, for games, there is a special use case on gaming assets. I think it's gaming assets, what it's called. For example, weapons or stuff that you can buy or you can give to the others. And then in this sense, some games, they use blockchain. But the whole gaming logic is in a mobile phone. So if you're building a mobile application, Android specifically application, and you want to interface with the new blockchain because I have a contract that will rule all these weapons and etc., you can use Neow3j, for exactly that to build that. So this is one of the use cases. And besides having these use cases, it should be easy to build that. It should be easy for the developers to do it. So, that's my point.
Very cool. So you recently released an update to Neow3j. What were some of those updates geared towards?
Yeah. So one of them, that's actually. I think it was the latest large release we've made was the 2.0.0, which had many many features, and because Neow3j now is going towards being a kind of not feature complete, but is reaching a point of having solid functionalities.
Mm-hmm.
Example, all the smart contract, how to send invocations or send transactions to them, to Neo, to interact with Net5 tokens, etc. So we can already do this with Neow3j library, and we are preparing a kind of larger release on October. So far, we haven't advertised that. I mean, widely in Neow3j. I mean, mainly talking inside the community and just advertising here and there, talking to people. But we're preparing that. But what the missing point now that we're working is like the documentation part.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of examples and documentation. So Claude here, one of my colleagues, he's also wrote a lot of nice documentation. Sometimes I'm not very good at describing it, but that's why you have to work with people that complement you.
Yeah. So I remember when so we've gotten to hang out at DevCon 2 in Seattle, and we also got to hang out at the Neo Community Assembly in Shanghai last month.
Exactly.
And one of the points of conversation was about documentation. That's
critical, you know.
Absolutely. And we were sort of talking about how it's one of those aspects that's very important, but it's also very difficult to do properly.
Exactly. We've discussed in this Dev Summit that there are specialized people writing this documentation, you know, and so it's really challenging to do that the proper way. But I mean, we just discovered this framework called Doxify, which we're using, and the other new projects are using to write documentation, and it gets pretty beautiful, I would say. Like this very nice presented. So we're using that. I hope that you guys will like when you release this larger release in October.
Very cool. Looking forward to it. So I guess kind of transitioning out of the specifics of what you've built, what does a day in the life at Neow3j look like? Because you're in Trust Square right now. You're with your coworker Claude, and Lily Chow from NGD is in Zurich as well. So what does it look like when you're working on Neow3j and kind of interacting with NGD Zurich on a daily basis?
Exactly. So sometimes, I mean, we meet each other here, but I must say that in summertime is a bit more difficult. Sometimes, you know, we have different work hours and etc. But we have fun when we meet here. It's fun, especially because so NGD focus also more in events or like workshops and communication. When you focus more in staying in me and Claude is in our cave developing stuff, and you know, so it's a good match if you get along with Lily here, or even Trust Square as a whole, because Trust Square here is a very large co-working space. I think is the largest in Europe in terms of area, and so we have like some people from Ethereum working here, Cardano and others. So it's cool to exchange ideas with them as well. And man, it's fun. I'm suspect to tell that, but every time that I come to the office here and talk to Claude, sometimes you get tired of what you're doing, and I say, "Oh man, fuck that," you know. So let's do something else, and let's get back after. Yeah, that's possible.
Very cool. So what have your experiences talking with developers at Ethereum and Cardano been like? Is there sort of a compare and contrast vibe? Is there sort of a friendly competition vibe?
Friendly. I would say friendly. the point that I see is the Ethereum guys are more concerned over a longer period of time on development experience, and so this is one of the points where while talking to them, I learned it, and also we exchanged some ideas, but no, it's a kind of a friendly ecosystem. Maybe there's some other companies around here because it's not only open source projects, public blockchains, but also permission blockchains here in TrustClear. So, with others is a bit more difficult. They look to you and say, "Oh, you're from public blockchains." Well, I mean, you're different. But it's a friendly environment. Once you drink something with them and talk, it's okay.
Yeah. So Neow's developer community is distributed. Neow3j is in Zurich. So I'm interested to hear sort of what your perspective has been like working with such a spread across the globe group, and what are sort of some of the things that you've enjoyed working with such a distributed group, and also what are some of the difficulties when you're coordinating with folks from across the globe?
Yes, very good question, actually, man. So recently, it was funny that recently someone in Discord just came to me and say, "Gil, I like the work that you guys are been doing with Neow3j. So is there something that I could do or help?" And then I just point to him the one of the issues that we've been working, and maybe he could take one part of that issue to work on. But what I realized is that he didn't know how to start or to start contributing. And he asked me, "Okay, but I see the description of the issue, I see what is there, but what you really have to do?" What I observe is this barrier on getting people on board to actually do something on existing issues. So we in the project side on Neow3j and Neo, we have to get better on onboarding, making this barrier a bit lower to other people. And so this is one of the things that I've seen. But I mean, this is not a special of Neo. Is also from any other open source project. This is one of the aspects. But what I think it's cool is that once you know once you know what is the project is about, and you know how to communicate well or to ask the right questions, it flows, because then you're into it, you get interested. Because I had this talk today with another guy. So you could go to work in a large corporation. Here in Zurich, you have, I don't know, Google, or you have Swisscom, or you have others. Of course, you're going to learn a lot there. But I feel that who works with open source software, they have the passion, to change and to make a difference in the ecosystem. And that's exactly what I got attracted to Neo, especially. We have been to this Dev Summit, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. People asking there, like, why Neo? And my answer was, first, because I believe I'm on the direction, on the technology, but and also because of the ecosystem. But I can make a difference. I feel that I can make a difference on the technically what I do and what I develop. So that's basically my experience. And another point is, there's some people that maybe they want to see other people physically to meet to work. So because like I myself, if I work at home like 5 days per week, I get a bit kind of bored. So I need to see other people and brainstorm in the whiteboard. So this is another point that I have to consider. There are different kinds of people, and that's why we here in Neow3j, we decided, oh, let's go to a co-working space. Let's have a whiteboard. Let's exchange some ideas. So yeah, but you have to respect, like, everyone is different, and adapt to it. But I enjoy a lot. I enjoy a lot the working open source projects, and mainly remotely distributed. Yeah.
Yeah, so the passion is definitely shining through. Listening to you talk about Neow3j and choosing the Neo blockchain, I was wondering if you could kind of talk about your perspective about the community assembly we had last month, because that invited the leadership from the community developer groups from across the Neo ecosystem. So we had everybody from across the world: Russia, Brazil, Europe, the US, China. I would like to hear kind of what your thoughts were about the summit, and maybe what sort of excited you the most once it was over.
Yeah, that's good. So let's start from the end. When I left the summit, I was stoked. I want to code. I want to do it. I was really excited because of this environment. I told Claude, my colleague here, that it was a really good surprise. We have, I met some of them in the Neo DevCon too, but not all. But when I've been to the Neo Dev Summit, I realized there's a lot of really good people, skilled people, and with passion to develop the ecosystem. So that's one of the things that not surprised me, but exceed my expectations on that. One of the challenges is that we have many ideas, many good ideas, great ideas, but sometimes when you have a lot of good people in one room and discussing, trying to get consensus, I mean, the consensus is not that easy, but this is natural. If you have good in corporations, it happens the same. But I mean, we're working with blockchain, which have pretty complicated consensus algorithms, and I realized that the human aspect is maybe even more complicated than those. But we need to learn it. We need to adapt, to step back, to move forward, to step back again, move forward, and then we'll reach the consensus to make the ecosystem better. So, I mean, I will not classify this as a negative aspect. I think it is a normal aspect, but I mean, we are learning. But I think this is more positive than negative, because, I mean, the problem was if we didn't have great people, in the project, then it would be a lack of skills, and it would be a lack of. But we have it. We have great ideas moving forward. Oracles. We have debuggers, which are pretty nice. I have this idea that I presented on Querish. Is a new project that I'm trying to develop that will help the infrastructure kind of layer to that developers can easily develop on Neo. So you have burner wallets, you have the education aspects, you have many ideas, and that's a great thing. We just need to get a consensus and do it.
So before we wrap up, I just wanted to get your input on what you think the future and direction of Neo3 is, and what excites you most about Neo3.
Okay. So what excites me most? Recently, I showed the Neo3 changes to a colleague, to a guy here that I here in Zurich, that he's also in the blockchain space, and he told me, "Yo, Neo gonna break everything." And I said, no, man, we're not gonna break everything. We're disrupting to build it, So yeah, because we're gonna change from UTXO model to account model, and this is a larger change, but I think this is for good. This is for good, and yeah, Dylan, I think this is because I come from the development experience space, and this will be easier to interact with the new blockchain, and also easier this move from UTXO to accounting model. This is easier for people to think and to develop, on Neo. So I think it's a more natural thing. Now we have the Neo 3 preview. I think there's a long way to go, honestly. But yeah, the Neow3j and also City of Zion with Tyler, we were starting already this how can I say, these efforts on adapting the SDKs to be prepared when Neo 3 will arise. But I'm pretty excited. The Oracle part, it's what fascinates me the most. It will enable a huge amount of use cases, but this is kind of complex. And me as being an engineer, I mean, of course you have to get excited, but cautious, because you have to do the right thing.
Absolutely. Well, Gil, I mean, I feel like I could continue chatting with you for another half hour, but I'm aware of your time. And so I want to thank you very much for taking the time to come chat with us on Neo News today. And
thanks a lot, man.
Absolutely. And hopefully we can get you on another podcast episode sometime in the future.
Absolutely. That's cool, man. Yeah, I enjoyed. And next time I'm going to drink coffee and you're going to drink beer then.
You've got a deal. We'll catch you next time, all right?
Cool. Well, thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye, guys.
So, what did you think of the interview with Gil? It is always a pleasure to catch up and chat with him. To keep up to date with Neow3j, you can follow along on their Twitter account or on their GitHub account as well. And for future Neo News Today podcasts, you can stay up to date by visiting www.neonewstoday.com or by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for listening to the Neo News Today podcast, and we look forward to catching you next time.